There is a drink sitting on a gas station shelf right now, nestled quietly between the neon sodas and the pasteurized juices, that contains a more complex ecosystem of living cultures than your entire digestive system. We are not talking about 10 or 20 species. We are talking about over 30 distinct strains of beneficial bacteria and yeast working in a synchronized living colony that literally rebuilds its own physical structure every time you brew a new batch. In modern facilities, researchers have observed that just 8 ounces of this preparation can support the body's natural ability to balance fasting glucose levels, helping those managing sugar sensitivities move from elevated ranges back toward a state of equilibrium in less than a month. It is not a synthetic compound, nor is it a pharmaceutical injection. It is a traditional preparation that costs $4 a bottle at the store, but less than 12 cents to craft in your own kitchen. For over 2 millennia, legends tell of Chinese emperors who revered it as the tea of immortality. Yet, in the late 20th century, the industrial beverage complex realized they could bottle this ancient secret, pasteurize it to kill the very life that makes it valuable, and sell it back to you at a staggering 3,000% markup. What they won't tell you is that this drink practically brews itself on your counter, using 3 basic ingredients you likely already have in your pantry. This is the story of kombucha. The narrative begins during the Qin Dynasty around 221 BCE. Historical accounts suggest that Chinese practitioners of traditional wellness prescribed a fermented tea they called the divine Che. Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the visionary who unified China and commissioned the Great Wall, was reportedly obsessed with the pursuit of longevity. He consumed this sparkling elixir daily, believing it to be a key to enduring vitality. This wasn't merely a beverage, it was a biological inheritance. As the centuries turned, the drink traveled the dust-blown paths of the Silk Road, venturing into Korea, Japan, and the vast landscapes of India. It was a cultural shapeshifter, adapting to the local teas and climates of every civilization it touched. By the 16th century, the tradition reached the hearths of Russian households. There, it was known as chenoy grib, or the tea mushroom. It wasn't something you bought, it was something you shared. The living culture was passed from neighbor to neighbor, family to family, like a sacred heirloom or a shared piece of sourdough starter. It became so deeply embedded in the survival culture of the region that even during the harrowing conditions of World War I, records show that prisoners of war in both German and Russian camps maintained their cultures to support their well-being in the face of scarcity. This was a resilient life force that survived the rise and fall of empires, only to face its greatest threat in the modern industrial age. By the early 1920s, this botanical mystery had migrated from the rural homesteads of the East into the industrial heart of Europe. In the Westphalian region of Germany, local pharmacies began stocking it under exotic names like Moji-Yu and Fungo Japan. It was prized as a traditional protocol for those seeking to support their digestive wellness and general vigor. For a brief moment, it seemed this ancient preparation was poised to become a staple of Western natural wellness. However, the trajectory of this living culture was abruptly halted by the onset of World War II. As the global conflict intensified, resources were diverted to the front lines, and the domestic life of millions was redefined by extreme scarcity. Specifically, sugar, or the single essential fuel that allows the kombucha culture to ferment, was strictly rationed across Europe and Asia. Without its primary source of energy, the tea mushroom began to vanish. It was a crisis for a biological lineage that had survived 2 millennia of human history. The culture could not be synthesized in a lab or replaced by a chemical substitute. It required the steady, quiet care of a human host and a handful of sugar. The story of how it survived this period is a testament to the resilience of traditional knowledge. While industrial production ground to a halt, the culture lived on in the shadows. It was kept alive in the basements of rural Russian villages and the quiet kitchens of European households, where families sacrificed their meager sugar rations to ensure the mother did not die. They understood that this was not just a drink, but a living inheritance. Because the culture is impossible to patent, Being a self-replicating biological entity, it remained outside the control of the emerging pharmaceutical and industrial food systems. It belonged to the people when the war finally ended, and sugar once again became accessible. The tradition resurfaced almost instantly. It was passed hand to hand, neighbor to neighbor, exactly as it had been for centuries. This underground network of sharing ensured that the specific microbial profile used by ancestors was preserved for the modern age. Post-war Europe and Asia saw a massive resurgence in the use of these fermented teas. In the absence of a robust conventional system for wellness in war-torn regions, people returned to the ancestral wisdom of their grandparents. They utilized the tea to soothe the body and support internal balance during a time of immense physical and emotional stress. The culture's ability to regenerate itself meant that no matter how impoverished a community was, they could produce a high-quality, probiotic-rich extract for the cost of a few tea leaves. This period solidified the reputation of the drink as a survival remedy. It was a tool of self-reliance that required no factory, no supply chain, and no corporate middleman. As we look at the modern obsession with bottled, branded versions of this tea, it is vital to remember its true history, a free, living gift that survived the darkest chapters of the 20th century simply because it was too valuable to let go. What truly sets this preparation apart from every other fermented food in the human diet is the biological engine that drives it, the SCOBY. While the acronym stands for a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast, that clinical label hardly does justice to the strange, translucent wonder floating in the jar. To the naked eye, it appears as a rubbery, cream-colored disc, often referred to by traditional brewers as the mother. In reality, you are looking at one of the most sophisticated and resilient microbial ecosystems you can hold in your hand. It is, in essence, the lichen of the liquid world of partnership, where two distinct kingdoms of life work in a choreographed harmony that has remained unchanged for thousands of years. It functions less like a single organism and more like a microscopic civilization, where every citizen has a specific role in the survival of the collective. The biology of this mother is a masterpiece of natural engineering. The yeast species within the colony act as the explorers. They begin the process by breaking down the sucrose from the sugar, transforming it into ethanol and carbon dioxide. In a typical fermentation, this alcohol might eventually become a waste product, but in the world of the SCOBY, the specialized bacteria primarily strains of the Acetobacter family step in to complete the cycle. These bacteria consume the alcohol produced by the yeast and convert it into a complex array of beneficial organic acids, including acetic, lactic, and glucuronic acid. This transformation turns a simple cup of sweet tea into a potent, living extract, traditionally used to support liver wellness and general immune function. This is not a chaotic breakdown, but a controlled, elegant metamorphosis of nutrients. Traditional folklore from the steppes of Eurasia often described the SCOBY as a living lung. This poetic imagery is scientifically grounded. The bacteria actually weave a dense, leather-like mat of pure cellulose on the water's surface. This mat serves as a microscopic fortress, protecting the delicate fermenting liquid below from airborne contaminants and mold, while simultaneously regulating the exchange of oxygen. These bacterial architects use the energy from the tea to build a physical home that they can inhabit for generations. Unlike a single-strain probiotic supplement found in a plastic bottle, the SCOBY is a multi-generational community that adapts to its specific environment, becoming more robust with every batch of tea it processes. When you observe this process in a glass jar, you are witnessing the same ancestral partnership that sustained the health of travelers on the Silk Road. The result is a drink that is simultaneously a probiotic and a prebiotic. While the living cultures help populate the digestive landscape with beneficial flora, the organic acids and polyphenols from the tea act as the soil for those same bacteria to thrive. In ancient traditions, this synergy was believed to harmonize the middle, an ancestral way of describing the support of the body's natural metabolic balance and internal terrain. By tending to this microscopic garden on your counter, you are participating in an ancient pact that ensures the vitality of both the microbe and the host. For generations, families across the globe relied on this botanical preparation to soothe their systems and maintain a sense of internal harmony. Though they lacked the microscopic lenses we possess today, in recent years, modern facilities have begun to turn their attention toward these ancestral secrets to understand how they might support our modern metabolic terrain. In 2023, a significant observation was conducted at Georgetown University Medical Center, representing one of the first randomized controlled clinical trials focused on how this fermented extract interacts with human biology, specifically in those navigating sugar imbalances. The study followed a group of 12 adults over 4 weeks, utilizing a double-blinded crossover design to ensure the accuracy of their findings. Each participant incorporated 8 ounces of the traditional preparation into their daily routine, allowing researchers to track the body's response to the living cultures. The observations were striking and offer a window into why ancient physicians were so enamored with this tea. Participants began the study with fasting glucose markers averaging around 164 milligrams per deciliter, a level that modern guidelines often identify as a point of metabolic concern. After just 28 days of following this natural protocol, those markers were observed to settle at an average of 116. To put that into perspective, conventional wellness organizations, such as the American Diabetes Association, suggest that a balanced range for fasting sugar is typically between 70 and 130. This shift suggests that the ancient tea of immortality may play a supportive role in helping the body return to its ideal baseline, promoting a state of equilibrium without the need for synthetic intervention. Meanwhile, the placebo group, who consumed a beverage that mimicked the taste but lacked the living mother culture, showed no statistically significant change in their markers, highlighting that the magic lies in the fermentation itself. This isn't an isolated observation. Across the globe, from the research halls of Brazil and Spain to laboratories in the United States, independent observers have documented how this living extract supports the body beyond just sugar balance. These studies have highlighted a positive influence on triglyceride levels and a notable flourishing of the internal microbial landscape. Specifically, the presence of Bifidobacterium and Akkermansia microbes that are increasingly recognized as the guardians of the gut lining and metabolic vigor tended to increase significantly. Akkermansia, in particular, is often seen as a cornerstone of a resilient digestive system, helping to maintain the integrity of the body's internal barriers. What the ancients understood intuitively through centuries of practice, modern observation is now viewing through the lens of microbial diversity. It isn't about targeting a single symptom, but rather providing a biological catalyst that encourages the body's own systems to function with greater efficiency. By nurturing the internal landscape with these specific organic acids and living strains, the tea helps maintain the delicate dance of nutrients and energy that defines our daily vitality. This traditional remedy acts as a bridge, connecting the survival wisdom of the past with a modern understanding of how a flourishing gut can support the wellness of the entire human frame. To bring this ancestral wisdom into your own home, you must first transition from a consumer to an alchemist of the kitchen. The process begins not with a laboratory, but with a search for a living seed. If you do not already have a mother culture gifted by a neighbor, you can initiate the cycle using a single bottle of raw, unpasteurized kombucha from a modern facility. When selecting your starter, look for the sediment at the bottom. Those tiny, dormant threads are the blueprint of the legacy you are about to inherit. To begin, pour that 16-ounce bottle into a wide-mouth glass jar. This vessel serves as the cradle for your new colony. Prepare 2 cups of black tea, sweetened with a small amount of cane sugar, and allow it to cool completely to room temperature. Combine this with your store-bought liquid, cover the jar with a tightly woven cloth secured by a rubber band, and place it in a quiet, dark corner of your pantry. For the next 1 to 4 weeks, the jar must remain undisturbed. During this time, a translucent, ghostly film will begin to weave itself across the surface. This is the birth of your SCOBY. It is a physical manifestation of the partnership between yeast and bacteria, thickening into a resilient, rubbery disc that will serve you for years to come. Once your mother has matured to about 1/4 inch in thickness, you are ready to begin the first fermentation. This ritual begins by boiling 4 cups of filtered water and steeping 4 bags of high-quality black tea for 15 minutes. The tannins in the black tea are the traditional nourishment preferred by the culture, providing the structural support it needs to thrive. While the tea is still hot, stir in 3/4 cup of plain white sugar until it is entirely dissolved. While we often avoid refined sugars in our modern diets, remember that in this traditional protocol, the sugar is not for you, it is the essential fuel for the microbes. Pour this concentrated base into a gallon-sized glass jar and add 8 cups of cool, filtered water to bring the volume up. It is critical to ensure the temperature of this liquid drops below 85 degrees before introducing the SCOBY. Heat is the enemy of this living preparation. Adding the culture to hot tea would be like a sudden frost in a summer garden, stalling the life within. Gently slide your SCOBY into the jar and add 2 cups of the liquid from your previous batch to act as a starter. This acidic kickstart ensures the environment is protected from unwanted airborne elements. Cover the jar again with the cloth, allowing it to breathe but preventing any intruders from entering. Place the jar in a spot that stays between 70 and 80 degrees, away from direct sunlight. For the next 5 days, resist the urge to move or agitate the jar. The microbes require stillness to build their complex web. On day 5, use a clean straw to take a small sample. If the liquid is still cloyingly sweet, the mother is still at work. If it has shifted into a tart, tangy profile with just a ghost of sweetness remaining, your first fermentation is complete. Most batches find their perfect balance between 7 and 12 days, depending on the warmth of your kitchen and the vigor of your specific culture. When the first fermentation reaches that ideal balance of tart and tangy, you have officially produced a high-quality botanical extract. But the true magic, the effervescence and depth of flavor that rivals any high-end sparkling beverage, happens during the stage known as the second fermentation. First, gently lift your SCOBY from the jar and place it in a clean glass bowl, covering it with 2 cups of the current liquid. This is your starter for the next cycle, ensuring your microbial lineage continues. The remaining liquid is now ready for bottling. Using glass flip-top bottles, which are specifically designed to withstand internal pressure, fill each vessel while leaving about 1 inch of headspace at the top. This is where you become an artist of flavor. You might add a tablespoon of fresh fruit juice, a few slivers of spicy ginger, or a handful of crushed seasonal berries. Seal the bottles tightly and leave them at room temperature for another 2 to 4 days. During this time, the remaining yeast within the liquid will consume the natural sugars from the fruit, producing carbon dioxide. Because the bottle is sealed, the gas has nowhere to go. It dissolves back into the liquid, creating a natural fine carbonation that is far more delicate and complex than anything produced by industrial machinery. The transition from purchasing bottles at a retail facility to brewing your own represents more than just a culinary shift. It is an act of economic liberation. Consider the mathematics of self-reliance. Your ongoing investment for a full gallon of this probiotic extract is roughly 4 tea bags, costing about 10 cents, and 3/4 cup of sugar, costing about 30 cents. Even when you account for the fruit used for flavoring, your total cost per gallon hovers around $1. That single gallon yields 8 16-ounce bottles. This brings your cost per bottle to approximately 12 cents. In a modern retail environment, the exact same volume costs between $3 and $5. If you were to incorporate 1 bottle into your daily wellness routine, the store-bought version would cost you over $1,400 annually. By maintaining the culture in your own kitchen, that cost drops to a mere $44. You are essentially putting over $1,300 back into your pocket every year, all while consuming a preparation that is vastly superior to its industrial counterpart. Homemade kombucha is never pasteurized, never filtered, and never sits on a refrigerated shelf for weeks, slowly losing its microbial potency. It is a living, breathing extract that connects you to the same traditions trusted by Russian families and German practitioners for centuries. By month 6 of this journey, you will find yourself with a thriving culture that feeds itself, and refrigerators stocked with customized flavors that support your unique system. The jar on your counter is a self-regenerating engine of wellness, requiring nothing more than tea, sugar, and a small amount of your time. This is the ultimate survival protocol, a free, ancient technology that rebuilds itself every 7 days, providing you with a constant supply of probiotic vitality. Thank you for walking this path of ancestral knowledge with us. If you found this guide helpful, please click the subscribe button to support our mission of bringing lost history back to the modern world. For a deeper dive into the world of botanical preparations, click the link in our description to explore our comprehensive ebook. Until next time, keep your cultures alive and your traditions strong.